Welcome to In Cadence. This is season 1, episode 2. Pax, wherever you are, we're glad you're here. Let's go.
Yep. Hi, guys. It's Keith, 43 Flea.
And I'm Ken, I'm 51. And in the gloom, Pax call me Shredder.
So, loads of news for the guys listening since the last one we released 2 weeks ago. The first one we did with Sage. Those who were listening very closely realised we were having quite a few internet connections at the time. I'm now resighted myself. I'm next to the router. We shouldn't have any glitches this time. Secondly, we've got a new podcast recording software, highly recommended from Hawk and The Plague. We're using the same one as them, so you should have a bit more consistency now in terms of what you see across the F3 Nation of podcasts. Yeah, hot off the press this week was the State of the Nation address. Did you have a chance to listen to it before we've got on this week?
Twice.
Yeah,
Yes.
Some really good stuff on that, actually. Yeah, I think we'll be the first podcast release that's out since the State of the Nation address. Shredder,
Okay.
you've got the first comments that are going to go out to F3 Nation as global feedback for Dark Helmet and the SLT. What are your golden words?
Do you know what? They're such gorgeous men, aren't they? No, I loved it. It's the first time I've listened to a whole one, and I was really, really excited by this project Afterburner, this idea of this deep exploration into the Q source and focusing back everything and saying, look, let's give all our energy, all our effort on the mission. Let's cut the other things back. I was kind of proud and awed and excited to listen, and yeah, they've stepped a big plate, haven't they? We're gonna try and deliver it, because they said it was all of us, not just them. But yeah, I loved it. What about you?
Yeah, some really good bits. I think Scratch and Win's summary on the region in a box concept, where, if you want to plant a new region, we'll just send you everything in a box for you to get started. I thought that's a great concept. It takes down that barrier of local or nearby regions having to do that, and to get it shipped out from central is a great idea. The Accelerate and the Afterburner projects, I think, are really good. I think there'll be enough traction in the UK to get enough guys interested on that. And maybe there's something we can do locally there. We'll engage with the SLT in the US and see, is there anything we can do to support local packs on that journey? Because I think there will be a lot of interest. But final big news for me, it was quite subtle, but the comments from PowerClean on UK being put up to sector status based on the growth. So let's watch the space. Let's see what that means. I guess there'll be a lot more support and a lot more, nation level support for us going on and helping us to deliver that mission. So yeah, really excited to see what's going to fall out from that. And hopefully we'll be part of that.
Just remembered one more thing, Codex. Do you remember the bit about Codex?
Now,
obviously, if you caught State of the Nation, you'll be knowing that the Exicon and the Lexicon have been hacked and worked on by a number of developers who are PAX, and they're saying hopefully within a month we're going to get a Codex with both of those things combined. And because we had American visitors today. Crackett's going to be talking with us in a second, and after the queue we were chatting about this, because obviously there's so many different names for so many exercises, and we're excited by a new Codex, and I'm hoping it'll have the possibility for us to have a series of alternates. You call it this, we call it that, and it makes it much more cross-populated. So if you're doing an exercise and you've named it John's trousers, and then somebody else will go, that's Billy Bob's pants, that is, and we can connect those dots. So Codex, for me, very excited, and I'm hoping with Sage's excitement on getting exercises listed up, we might be able to go and help them add a few British variations in too. So that's good.
Yeah. We had that example this morning, actually, at beatdown in the factory in Leeds. We were doing pike merkins, where you were sort of, butt up and doing shoulder press merkins, called Carolina dry docks in US, which I wasn't aware of that. So again, learning one step at a time.
And on my VQ, I did everything themed around Egypt and the pyramids, and I call them pyramid merkins. So, and then somebody else said Carolina dry docks, and I was like, bless you, so many names. Yeah, it was good to hear that we're going to have hopefully a more fit for purpose updated resource that will help packs, especially packs coming to things like their VQ, who are sitting there going, I want to try a couple of new things, and then you go and currently you get an explanation, but without the video that makes you go, I know that, So hopefully that will enable people to push that button and try some different exercises in their BDs.
Yeah, so cool. Did you get to post it? Did you post this morning?
Yes, yeah, I did. Our wonderful guest thrashed us within Well, he thrashed us. It was a special treat. I'd done too much this week. This week was one of those weeks where it's in. Next week is a family rest week, so I kind of overtrained a bit, and then there'll be some peace. So yes, yeah, it's good. We do a bit of local news as well. That is that fair? You want to do that now?
Well, local news. I mean, yeah. I had a 30-30 this morning. That was great, ran by Cream Tea. My local news, I've been a little bit out of it this week. I've just got back from a holiday in Cornwall, so I've been there with the family for a week. I missed by a day the pop up BD that was run by Homer and Concrete down in Newquay. So I missed that, unfortunately. I was gutted when I saw that pop up. I'm quite envious that those guys got to do that. So that was fine. But I did manage to get in on the night before going down on holiday. There was a LinkedIn event in Leeds.
Okay.
Where there was lots of local business representatives that were in the same room. There's about 200 businesses. So
Yes.
me and Toffee, the AOQ from the stocks, we decided to crash it, and we thought we'll go and do a bit of publicity. We wore our F3 merch, and we got out and we talked to everyone around the room and started trying to some, not only guys there, but also business owners as well. Talking about mental well-being and fitness promotion for employees. We did get quite a bit of engagement on that, so there's a lot to follow up on. Now I'm back from holiday, and a couple of soft commits for next week. So hopefully it's another way to look at it on how we can get the word out there and get the name out and the mission we're trying to do. And lots of people were really supportive and really like the idea. So we're going to try and do the same again in September. There's another one on and see how it goes.
I have to say, you missed out one detail about that pop-up BD down in Cornwall. It was the name of the workout, which is possibly now my favourite name for a BD ever. I noticed it just before we came on, and it was called Circle of Thrust. It's just brilliant. So fair play to those boys and their Circle of Thrust. You got a week now. Is it a week before your CSOP for the one year anniversary in Leeds?
Yeah, exactly. So it's our crazy Saturday morning plans for next week. We've got a 2-hour beatdown followed by a 5K park run.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. We've got about 18 at the moment. Got a couple of guys from the Midlands region coming up to join us. So it's going to be quite a good morning. I've got the first third of the BD, and then Toffee's got the second, third, and Sage for the third. And then a nice 5K just to finish off if you're not tired enough already.
Just when you don't think you're tired enough already. Absolutely.
And if I haven't said it enough times on podcasts, I hate running. So it's be a nice finisher for me to finish me off for the day, I'm sure.
I will quote somebody that I greatly respect. At Mosey time, just start, don't think about it. End of August, we've got the CSOP Capture the Flag event coming up, hopefully at the Brook. I need AOs, if you're watching, AOQs, get those HCs in so we know we're doing it. And then obviously in a week later, the Bridge and London and Surrey Borders organising another CSOP, which is a walk from Walton to Westminster. It's, I think, if you do the whole thing. There's loads of bail points. It's very well organised. If you can't get hold of the Bridge, you can message us in Cadence and we can connect the dots for you. But that'll be a cracking event, man. Honestly, I'm hoping to do it with my weighted ruck if I can handle that, but we'll see.
Fantastic. Do you know what else you'll need for that?
What's that?
You also need some good socks.
Don't say socks.
But we're not going to talk about
Don't
socks.
say socks, honestly.
That's for Dark Helmet to talk about. We're not going to talk about socks. Promise, we won't mention socks ever again.
I wear toad socks when I do BDs now. You know, they look like gloves. Anyway, let's keep going. Tell us about the Valor event, Flea. You know about that, don't you?
Yeah, this one's really good. Homer's been getting the final confirmations out this week. Yeah, it's going to be a full day event held down in London area, I think Surrey. So yeah, I think it's 9 till 5 worth of beatdowns, QSOS activities. It's going to be a mini GTE style event, hard work, camaraderie, and big rewards. I'm still making my logistical arrangements to get me a HC, but I really like the looks of it. Speaking to some guys this morning in Leeds, also really keen. So yeah, we're going to try and get to that. It'll be my first big event, apart from the convergence that we had in the UK, but my first sort of yeah, specialist event, shall we say.
Yeah. And they want support team, don't they? Homer said that, if people are interested in being part of it, in a certain way, helping,
Mm.
I guess medical and logistic. Homer's on the F3 UK band, and again, if you can't get hold of Homer, just get in touch with us, and we'll connect the dots for you because yeah, it's going to be exciting. I asked my M straight away, and I was like, "Can I?" And she said, "You've been banging on about this for ages. Just book it." And I'm like, "It costs money," and she said, "Yeah, yeah." And I'm like, "Done, straight in." So, and I was chatting to some packs yesterday, some of the younger lads saying, "Look, you got nothing to fear. When old farts like me could do it, you can do it too. So let's get on." So it's good.
Yeah.
It is really exciting. Our guest tonight, actually, I want to bring him in. I think at this point, but as I would introduce him in a brief way, he's as close to me being EH'd because I wasn't EH'd. I came and found you crazies, but he's as close because he was the guy that got me there. And one thing I never worked out. I never worked out that when we came that first night and first morning, sorry, and it was bricks. You weren't my battle buddy. I don't understand why that was, but there you go. Anyway, introduce yourself, sir.
I am Simon 39.
Excellent. So we don't know how you got your name, and a bit like defib and dial-up, I thought sometimes we could play the guess game. Do you have a theory, Flea, or do you want me to just embarrass myself first?
I've been thinking about this, and I'm really, really struggling to even get to a theory. Crack it for me would maybe involve something brittle, or even something crazy like a safe cracker.
You know what? I was worried about this. In my head, I had two theories, a sensible one and the crazy one. And I was like, oh, I can't really out him as an international safecracker in case he actually is and we don't know. But that was my mad one, that he was like,
No, so gents, it's a lot more crackers than that. I arrived at Circuit early December of 2 Decembers ago, and the gents gave me a different nickname, and then we realized that we had actually repeated that nickname, so I had to go back for a renaming. And I used to be in my previous life in exercise rehabilitation, and the gents thought that I was a chiropractor, even though I didn't explain myself anything like what a chiropractor does. And they decided to call me Crackett.
there you go.
Yeah. So all good. So Crackett is stuck.
Anyway, that's exciting. So, Crackit, there's a final exercise in this warmer armor. If you were embodied as an F3 exercise, what would you be?
Yeah, so I like it when it's really difficult in a beatdown. So I would have to be a burpee 5 and back is what I've named it. And it's a burpee, run 5 meters, run 5 meters back, and do another burpee and repeat that for OYO, usually about 20 reps when I cue it.
I've a memory of that. Yes.
Yeah, we may have
Sounds
enjoyed a little set of that this morning.
It was good. It was good. And everybody, when you say burpees, you've got me straight away. I'm like, yep, come on. It's good.
Sounds filthy. I'll make a note of that for my next Q session.
it.
So
Do it.
yeah,
Burpee
fantastic.
5 and backs.
Fantastic. That'll definitely go in. So on to the main bit then, Crackit. So tell us a bit about yourself and most importantly, how you ended up getting into F.
Yeah, so my accent may have given it away. I'm surprisingly South African, and I've been in the UK about 8 years. But as you can imagine, a move across the world is not the easiest thing that someone can go through. And my wife and I moved across my M with a dream of setting up a life and then having our two daughters. And little Benjamin, he decided to be conceived on the way. So we arrived in the UK pregnant. And yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle from there. But yeah, with no family, no support, it's been really tough. And as you can imagine, that takes a little bit of a toll on one's emotional well-being. And I was scrolling through Facebook, wasting my time, as many of us gents do, and came across men doing exercises and big boy sit-ups in the snow. It was presented on Facebook by an gent by the name of Pete. And I thought, well, if Pete can do it and all those other gents can do it, I definitely feel like that is where I belong, in my head and in my heart. And I thought doing some exercise in the snow was where I belonged. and reached out to Pete. Arrived at a BD a couple of days after that to just be blown away by the experience, by how welcoming the packs are. And yeah, that was the start at the circuit in winter a couple of years ago.
When you said conceit on the way, I was
Oh
like,
no,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
in the
So,
what, in the
plane?
airplane?
yeah. Mile High Club, and all of a sudden, no. So it was Little Bigs decided to be conceived after we had made our decision to move, and the tickets were booked, and it was go time. Yeah.
How do you feel with
Everybody
the
breathes a sigh of relief.
how how do you feel with the winter BDs? Because we,
Yeah.
when
So
we started in Yorkshire, it was heavy winter and snow when we started it up and going. How did you find it down south?
I like to be uncomfortable now. I used to choose the comfortable, but I now instantly choose the uncomfortable as the norm. Yeah, winter BD for me is super uncomfortable, so that we can build our resilience in the gloom. So it's cold, surprisingly enough, but it's great for building our mental strength whilst we're building our physical strength.
Yeah. What's your thinking about that? Because obviously I started the circuit in the dark too. Do you get a good feeling about working outside when it's dark? Is that do you feel quite connected into life in that place?
Yeah, without a doubt. I've always spoken about waking when the animals wake, and I quite like that animalistic feel of waking so early and getting yourself into the uncomfortable so that you can better yourself. And arriving at the circuit with the AOQs at the time, Gust and Tackle, they just were yeah, just absolute brothers to that engagement of the discomfort, which just made the dark a lot less dark, made the cold a lot less cold, and you always felt really welcome. And that's what F3 is for me. It's a really welcoming space.
What's the magical thing that made you come back for the second beatdown? Because we have a lot of guys who turn up for the first and they don't always come back. What was it for you that made you come back for the second one?
So fortunately, throughout my life, I've always been into exercise. I've always loved exercising. I love being fit. But yeah, getting into a group of men that all support one another instantly. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter, anything. You are welcome. I returned, and I remember my first BD instantly. Piano Man was the cue, and I did 88 side straddle hops on a 4 count, and I I started to think, well, this guy must be Piano Man for a reason. He just taps on those keys like side straddle hops. Yeah, and it was just a great experience. Couldn't not return. Yes, Gus was my battle buddy. And yeah, he knows how to switch you on when it comes to a BD. So yeah, I was always going to return, and it was for the fellowship, for the gents that I was meeting in the gloom.
There's that sense, I think a lot of packs say, we always, I think, try to say to somebody, welcome home when they come. But I do think so many of us express that truth that that's genuinely how we felt when we came. And it's because it's a big thing to step in, whether somebody puts you in an emotional headlock to get you there, or whether you self-select and go, this is what I need. When you do it, you do need people to step forward and gather around you. And it's amazing how that is common and a value in F3.
So that's Shredder, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, I felt so at home from my first BD that every FNG that arrives at any BD anywhere in the UK that I visit, I will always say welcome home, because it definitely is a homely feeling when you with a bunch of men in a random car park.
It's just amazing, isn't it? I this morning, obviously, you queued for us, and we had 2 guests come. So Flea had got me into Slack, and I've been trying to say to some of the packs over there, so lots of you are coming to London now. Let's get you into an AO that you can access on the tube. And Mr. Freeze one of our awesome brothers. He got the two guys up from Malden Tube, just a few minutes up the road. And when they arrived, I said to them, "I want to take you on a quick mosey." And so, if you're watching and you're not an F3 PAX, mosey's is just a gentle run. And they followed me. They followed me into the park, and we ran for a few minutes, and we ran up this hill, which we've got a clip of, which we might use in this episode. If we don't, it'll be soon, hopefully. We ran up a little mound that was 2,000 years old, at least. That the Romans had a little watchtower as part of their Roman road between London and Chichester on the south coast, and we just stood there for a couple of minutes looking at this mound that's been there long before us and will be there long after. And we marveled, and then we came back and we were treated to your awesome BD. It's just great how people connect in F3.
So you mentioned your first posting you did at that initial BD you attended. Is that where you still post now, or do you manage to get around and visit different AOs?
Yeah, so my F3 journey has developed quite a bit since then. Shredder mentioned the hymnist him that I know, and he goes by the name of Mr. Freeze. And yeah, he and I connected at the circuit. That's an connection. It's official shield lock. We just get one another. We just understand one another. As our love of F3 developed, and as our love of supporting our fellow man developed, there was only one way that we would go, and that would be to open our own AO. So that's when Mr. Freeze and I stepped out with the great support of Styx, our Nantan. And yeah, I mean, within a couple days of actually deciding that we were going to open the AO, we had already made it official, because it was just so right. We opened the bridge at Welton on Thames in August last year. So we're coming up to our first birthday. And it's flown by, and the amount of men that we've met, and just being able to BD with and feel their support while we give our love has just been absolutely incredible. So I BD mainly at the bridge, but I'm always happy to go to the circuits. I'm always happy to go to the weir, even though I haven't been there as much as I want to get there, because they're on the same days as the bridge. Get to the landing. But yeah, visited the way recently. And obviously now with Shredder starting the brook, we've got our next step towards London. So super exciting times for our region in particular.
That's fantastic. I mean, is there anything particular going on at the bridge in terms of events, or are you guys really tapping into the regional events going on?
The bridge has evolved massively. So Mr. Freeze and I stepped away from the AOQ role at about 6 months into the AO being open, for all the right reasons of getting out the way so that other men could lead. And we knew that Hooker and Books at the time were the right gents to take it on. And then Books has given over the AOQ ship to Stitch, who's another, just loves F3, loves to serve men. So Hooker and Stitch are our AOQs at the moment at the bridge, and they have put together an incredible design of a shared leadership team with, again, the guidance and vision of our main man, Mr. Freeze. And we now have a brilliant shared leadership team, which again just allows so many men to develop their leadership skills, not only to use in F3, but to use those skills and transition those skills into their everyday lives, whether it be with their families or within their workspaces. So yeah, everything about the bridge is just accelerating. And I always speak of this as well, the deceleration versus the acceleration. There is no plateau.
I don't know if I've crashed or
I've been
they've
learning my
crashed.
F3 literature, and yeah, we've got to keep accelerating as F3 packs.
Yeah, it's fantastic, that concept of an SLT, and it is something that we do promote in F3 for helping that development and the nurturing of leaders, and as they come through and get exposed to different functions. I think it's great. Do you have that SLT at the AO level or at the regional level?
Yeah, no, so it's at AO level, but at the bridge, yeah, we've got a very maybe mature is the word to use, but the guys are really committed to serving men not only at the AO, but actually in the community. And they really have taken on the F3, in all possible ways. So we've got The first F is the AOQs, to maintain the high standards of BDs and technique of the exercises being performed. And then we've got the second F, which takes care of the fellowship. So organizing socials, organizing this crazy CSUP from, good old Walton all the way to Westminster. And then we've got the third F, which is how do we, bring faith and bring community support to the community in which we enjoy the AO and the beautiful car park that we get to stare at every.
What are some typical third F activities or initiatives that you're doing over there?
So Mr. Freeze again is the forefront of these. He's not one of the third FQs. However, he always provides the litter pick or supporting some of the local charities trying to carry heavy stuff around for them. And just it's amazing how many people you can actually on a third S event, because they see that you're doing something good for the community, and generally when people see something good, they want to be involved with it. So one of our third F Qs was actually at a litter pick event, and now he wants to drive that forward. Thank you, Whip. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Can I just ask a question then? Because obviously I'd not been that long into F3 when that third F came out, and you and Mr. Freeze ran the Father Fitmas event. You remember we went
Thanks
to the
for reminding
Way.
us of that one. Yeah, that's huge.
And that was something else. I have a couple of questions. Who was in charge of the Cindy side and who was in charge of the bodyweight side?
You're gonna have to jog my memory on this one, Shredder.
So we split into the Way car park, and on the left hand side of the car park in the middle we had about 14 Cindy stations, and we did about a minute on each, and it rotated. I think Mr. Freeze had that, and I think it's just I have this mental scarring of these between the lamppost crocodile merkins that we were doing, and I think that was you.
No, so the Way actually queued that. The Way queued that.
Did they?
So we had Doc as the Cindy specialist for that particular BD, and we had Hollywood who was working through the other side of the BD with them. It was great. The whole reason for it was to actually enrich children's lives. So every F3 PAX was asked to please donate gifts. Mr. Freeze again was driving that. He's just a golden human. And so we collected hundreds of gifts that were taken to children's homes across the region. So a very, very special way to make many children's lives a little bit brighter over Christmas.
It was such an easy pleasure. Forgive me, I remember, because when I was on Hollywood's side, I remember on Doc's side, one of the stations, the Cindy was clearly made of papier-mâché. There was no way. It must have weighed about 8 kilos. And there was another one that was probably a 26-kilo one. And we were teasing each other about who the 6K Cindy belonged to. But that's that BD that Hollywood put together. I was well past, even though I was a few years into my fitness journey, I was well past what I was capable of. But the fact that we did that, and you got to take all those things to kids. If you're struggling in your own lives, it's just a joy if someone can stand with you. And when we can do that for other people, that's where I think aspects of the third F come alive. And like you say, Mr. Freeze he's all over it, which is one of the reasons he's wonderful.
No, I mean, we've touched on a couple of points there, Shredder. Like, BDs are always best when they're memorable. When they're so difficult that you think, why the hell am I doing such a silly thing? So that's when BDs for me are definitely the best. And then, being able to just enrich other people's lives, I think for me is probably the most fulfilling thing that we can do for humanity. And F3 provides us with that platform to actually not only enrich, the packs of F3 and the next F and G, but actually the wider community. And being in a position to be able to facilitate something like that is hugely positive. And long may F3 exist and long may it grow.
Absolutely.
You mentioned, absolutely, and again, and I always like to ask this to F3 packs. I mean, what's the most successful method that you're finding at the bridge? Is it word of mouth, or is it through alternative means?
Yeah, so social media was the number one. And as soon as you get to that, critical mass of packs within the AO, then, word of mouth becomes more accessible, because every man is going to know another man that needs F3. And I know that potentially every over 18-year-old man needs F3 in their lives, and that's the reality, because it's open to all men. And that's one of our core principles. Every man is welcome, regardless of fitness level, regardless of who you actually are, you are welcome. And yeah, that is what I think is, the best about F3 is it doesn't matter who you are. You're always a Paps, you're always a brother. The circle of trust always has space for you.
And you're always the
But
same,
the best,
the next person, you're always welcome to come and join and commando crawl next to me in a muddy field on a 6 o'clock on a December morning in Leeds. Anyone's welcome to come and do that, and you'll feel better for it.
yeah.
And again, a lot of people realize that they don't necessarily realize that they need it until they try it.
No, exactly that. And that's, for everyone that's listening, like, I can't explain the freedom that F3 has given me personally within my own mind. Yes, your fitness will follow, but it allows you to share your experiences with other men. And to the next F&G that has not yet experienced that, we absolutely welcome you and cannot wait to meet you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, this is it. AO's, I say all over the UK, but AO's well spread out now, working on more, and with tools like we're talking about, this idea of being able to plant something. Nothing is impossible. I had somebody reach out as we were starting the book, and really desperate to try and get hold of them because they asked me a question because they had a disability, and then they blocked me before I could turn around and go, yes, you're welcome. You are welcome. Because when we've got packs in their 70s, when we've got packs who could barely see, when we already have packs in a wheelchair, you are welcome, and we will make it work. Because actually, you're probably a ferocious guy who needs brothers. There's a lion in most people's hearts, isn't there? And I think we find it in community. And I don't mean that in a sort of uber manly kind of way, but people are powerful, and on our own, that power is often just drained away. Whereas together, this is good. I'm excited by this. I have no idea where we are in our
I do.
Q&A stuff, but I'm excited by
I
this.
do. Back to
There you go. I thought
it
that
was a good
segue.
segue. Back to first F and back to those BDs. I heard you're queuing this morning,
Yes.
Crackit. So, yeah, fantastic. Good job on beasting those guys in South London. Thank you for that on behalf of them.
Yes.
That
I've
was
not
good
queued
fun.
in about 2 weeks. I've managed to take myself off the rota for a while. Let the other guys do it. I've done my fair share for this year, and go turn up and enjoy it.
On queuing, like, for me, the best thing of F3 besides that next F&G is a VQ. A VQ is my most favorite thing. I push the extra mile to go and visit as many VQs as I possibly can, because to watch a man arrive as an F&G and, have no clue that he's then going to be leading the group within however long it might take for him to be the leader of that group, and watch how he grows and watch how he develops and watch how he starts to love three the way that, many of us perhaps do. And then all of a sudden he's got the mic, he's got the VQ, and it's just the most powerful experience for me. Because often then the journey within a pack's heart rarely begins, because you start to feel that Q juice, that power of, leading a group of men that you've got to know over a short period of time, but you don't know how you know them this well in this short space of time, because we allow the space to be so open to one another. And you then become a Q who can lead not only an exercise session for a bunch of men in a car park, but you actually can develop the skills of leadership to be able to enrich your life within your family, your friendship groups, your workplaces. It's just the most powerful thing. And I just love it. I just absolutely love it. I can't wait for the next F&G so that we can develop them for their next VQ and beyond. It's just a very, very powerful growth mindset that I think we need to continue to instill in our packs.
And it is that communicating that
Yeah.
mission and then making sure that our new FNGs who are coming in understand that mission and continue with our mission with the 5 core principles. Then it's passing that on and getting them to have that fire that we have. We want to get this out to as many guys as possible. Plant, grow, serve.
That's the mission. We need to grow F3, not for ourselves, for the next man that's sitting on his couch scrolling through Facebook and needs a group of men, needs brothers, needs fellowship. Fitness will take care of itself. Giving back to community will take care of itself. All you've got to do is get to a BD. And once you're there, you're in for a life-changing experience. And that's what F3's done for me. It has changed my life for the positive in so many ways.
The thing that struck me as you were speaking then is just a recognition of where we are now. This journey that we're taking together. What we're doing now won't be fit for where we should be in a year's time. And if what we're doing now is we've not done it right. And today, obviously VQ. Again, if you're listening, VQ is your first lead, and you get help with support with doing that as you've come in for being a friendly new guy. And today at the Brook in our AO, when Crackit was Q, he gave the MVP to 2 of our new starters. So when the Brook opened a few weeks ago, they started, and I can't wait for their VQs already.
So, Shredder, I was thinking that
exciting.
all day. I mean, the potential the potential that you see in your fellow man because you've walked this experience and you start to see the joy that they're starting to really feel and the support they're starting to feel, and all of a sudden they're carrying on into their VQ. Exactly. Iron sharpens iron. But yes, it takes you to a place of great joy to know that those newer packs are going to be Qs sooner rather than later.
I'm just trying to find something in my I've got my F3 drawer here. I can't find them now. In a house full of kids, well, not 2 kids. When you've got 2 kids, that's quite full. I've got a giant pack of cards there, and the second full week. So I've done 3 Thursdays with the new guys, and the first one was when Mr. Freeze was poorly. The second one, I did a deck of cards. And I pulled out this deck of 52 cards and said to them, okay, look, 52 cards, spades of burpees. I can't even remember the 3 now. Spades of burpees. If you get a 2, we're going to do 2 burpees. If you get a 10, we're going to do 10. If we get a king, queen, jack, and actually I think I did ace, it's 12. And I said to our new guys, and you're doing the counting. You're leading us. And they did. And I said, we started off with, obviously we didn't start up with the next exercises, starting positions move, on my down, in cadence, OYO, depending on what the call is. They started to do it. And earlier when you were talking about it, about this kind of potential, you get to a certain age in life and you'll just cry with everything. But there's genuinely a tear in my eye about the excitement for them. And it's a joy. And it is just the beginning of a domino. And that's what I was saying about this idea of us saying what we're doing now isn't fit for a year's time. I've been reflecting a bit on this principle. When you look at F3's Q source, the writings that have kind of been drawn down by the guys that started it to help us understand what our values, we don't have rules for new listeners. There aren't loads of rules, but there's values. There's things that we hold as precious. And what we're doing, in a year's time, In Cadence could be run by different people. The AOs that we're in will almost certainly be run by different people, because we're placeholders, right? We're just trying to say, right, today, this is what we see. We know where we want to go, and we want as many people to come with us. And that's going to be an exciting journey, a forward-looking journey. There's so much looking backwards in our world, isn't there? So much. It's emptying. And what we're talking about is something that's filling. Anyway,
Shredder,
it's not me chatting.
On that note, seeing someone's potential. I had the privilege of doing GTE 55, and at the King Builder was Hooker's 3rd BD ever, and he was called up front to call an exercise via another PAX. So it was just shared leadership of shared information, and he cued that exercise like a seasoned cue. And from that day, you can see that a man has potential for growth, for development. Just the need to do more for himself, for his family, for his community. And F3 has provided so many men with that opportunity. And Hooker snapped it up with every possible hand that he could get himself around this F3 package. You know, he's done 200 BDs within a year. He's the AOQ for the last 6 months at the bridge and just continues to inspire. And just, you know, that development started from a shared leadership experience that allowed him to fulfill a space. And I think if we can continue to provide an opportunity for men to fulfill a space, they're gonna fulfill the space and they're going to push it forward. We just have to, again, have the growth mindset to make this a reality. And again, I say not for the growth of F3 only, but for the next F&G that we welcome home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go and do a BD. I'm too excited. Oh my goodness. Calm me down.
Talking of BDs,
This is
talking of
good.
BDs, which exercise makes you just go, oh no?
Yeah, no, there are a couple of those, but again, I embrace the difficult, I embrace the tough. So I don't dislike anything. I just would prefer not to have to put a Cindy above my head. So as soon as you read a pre-blast and equipment required is Cindy's, everyone has a joke about that. But at the same time, there's that like little bit of nervousness that arises, and you drive off to the BD early, and you know you've got your Cindy packed, and you get there, and it just feels heavy as you take it out of the car, and you know you've got a BD ahead of you with this heavy piece of concrete that and I think just putting a Cindy above my head for a length of time, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but we get it done.
You have, first time I ever did a Cindy overhead tricep extension when Mr. Freeze called it. We were under the bridge at Walton-on-Thames and he said it and I was like, what? No. What? No. And then he started to do it and I was like, what is that? And I was like, okay.
And you just get it done. And that's a lot of this philosophy for me is, it doesn't matter how difficult it gets. It doesn't matter. You just got to keep going forward. Because I will take ourselves back to, why we actually do this. And I think finding your why for yourself is the most valuable place you can find yourself in F3. And when I'm really low, I remind myself of how hard things can get. And sadly, I do have to fight those demons still from time to time, but I've got the experience of a BD getting damn difficult and keeping going. And I relate that back to when other things in my life get really difficult and I've got to keep going. So yeah, it's a never ending growth experience, not only within the F3 and building your strength, but also building your resilience for life, because the storm is coming for every one of us in one way or another. And we have the privilege of preparing for that storm together to be able to face whatever is coming our direction in the most adequate way that we possibly can. And what an absolute pleasure. It's an honor.
Yeah. One of the things that's given me such joy is having spent over 4 years working out in the garden on my own all year, all weathers, in the day and the night. I spent so much time dealing with the storms on my own. And yes, you can take the storm out on a 28 kilo kettlebell and take your skin as well, these things. But one of the things that's changed for me in this first 10 months is now I mostly never look at a storm and go, I'm on my own, because I've got brothers, and I've seen people come at me recently and I've smiled and I'm like, I'm more than you need already and I'm not on my own. And that's not threatening. It's just I know that if I message out to Pax and I say, you know what, this is kicking off, there'll be 10 people who'll go, what are we doing? In a positive way. In a
How
positive
can we
way.
help? And
How
it's
can we
not,
help?
it's not, bringing your gangsters to a gunfight. This is
No,
the thing.
no.
It's such a powerful experience that you are never alone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a very, very powerful thing to be involved with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're 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 having such a good discussion. I hope if you're watching this, you're enjoying this really, or listening to it. Is there a kind of you've done so many exciting things in F3. Is there something that you've been part of in F3, whether it's a workout or not, that you've gone, that was truly outrageous? What was that?
Oh, there's you mentioned that little tear to the eye moment, Shredder. And I'm probably going to bring it back to there's just so many. There's VQs, there's the Cardinal BD, which meant a lot to me. There's a GTE that's it's in the bag. But you spoke of emotion. Previous to F3, I felt that I'd lost my emotion. I was always emotional throughout my childhood, throughout my schooling, throughout, and then I started becoming numb as a man. And it was probably just the pressures of life that get in the way. And those are the things that you allow to continue to be your norm until you shake them up, three have the ability to do that tenfold, for myself and for every other man that's ever reached out to F3, as well as all of the men that we're going to meet in F3. But I returned to the most incredible experiences of the VQs. And not only because the gents are leading a group of men, but then they get an opportunity to share a word. And that word is always worth listening to. It's a very, very powerful word that seems to come out of people's mouths after a VQ experience. And they're prepared to share a story that they probably haven't been able to share, not only with their closest, but even with themselves. And all of a sudden you get enriched by how much men are going through and how much they're willing to do anything possible to be better for themselves, for their families, and for their communities. And that for me is probably the most powerful experience of F3. And I have done some pretty damn crazy things with F3, but I think when I relate it to the raw reason for why F3 exists, for me personally, it's that. It's to see men be vulnerable enough, brave enough, courageous enough to share their story. And yeah, I hope wherever you're listening, you can feel the passion for that, the care for that, the complete empathy for that, not only for your own well-being, but just to know that there are so many men that care about men and how well, these men are. So yeah, you know that you've got an army of brothers with you, and you find a way to just keep going, because tomorrow we go again.
I've got a great example of this in
Absolutely.
Yorkshire. We had one Pax doing his VQ. He had attended about 10 sessions, and he was rostered in for doing his VQ, and it just happened to coincide with a 30-30 session that we had planned. And I said to him, look, it's a 30-30. Do you want to reschedule, or do you want to? He goes, no, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to lead the 30-30 as well. And for a guy that's been for a bit to 10 sessions, and I was like, wow, if you've got the balls to do that and lead a discussion amongst, I think, everyone else who has already done their VQ. So you're talking relatively experienced F3 guys, and you're taking your VQ. We did a 45-minute session, so we didn't miss out 15 minutes of his VQ. We did 45 minutes and 30 minutes discussion, and he led it on a topic that was very personal to himself and led it like an absolute boss. And I was that proud parent moment. You've got that feeling when you've brought in you brought in an FNG, but perhaps you were queuing when an FNG arrived, and then sessions later they see them do their VQ, and like you say, Crackett, you get that feeling of pride. Oh, this guy's come through and he's now ready and he's developing, and for him to come in and smash in the 30-30, I was blown away, absolutely blown away by it. And that's that fire and that hidden skill set that all guys have. They just need
Exactly.
help to discover it and get it out.
Exactly that. And F3 provides that. So we've had the
Mm.
privilege of having a VQ as a 30-30 as well. And this PAX chose it. And you're just like, that is what F3 can do to a man. And we don't know what that thing is, but it exists in buckets.
It was conviction, actually. I remember the Q school sitting there in the pub. We'd gone through the document and we were talking about it. And obviously, I was doing my VQ at the circuit, not the bridge. But he said that, and I was like, wow.
Exactly.
There was no doubt.
Revolt, get yourself down to the BD as frequently as you can, young man. But yeah, it's you mentioned Q School, Shredder, and like Q School's golden because it just gives you that ability to discuss what F3 is all about, you know, from a literature perspective. And then I delve deep into the why once again. Like, why would you want a Q? And that's a wonderful question to ask yourself when you're building up to a VQ, and you will find the answers. The answers might not be what you expect them to be until you delve a little bit deeper as to like why would you want to be giving back? What does giving back make us feel? How does it make us feel? You know, so I think Q School is a critical growth step in an F3 PAX journey. So I highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
I remember that first session, that first Q I did at VQ. It was back in November last year. And I remember the nerves prior to it. And I was the first FNG to do their VQ within Yorkshire. So Stage kicked it off as the first guy. And then I was the first one to do it. And I've been a bag of nerves in that first one. And I think I was prepping this and writing it down and scribbling for about 2 hours. It's part of that journey and that learning. It's actually 2 hours is maybe a bit too much now. And if you're queuing now, maybe 10 minutes, quick prep and write the pre-blast. What's your favorite part about preparing a session and leading it? What's the bit that gives you the most buzz in preparing for a
So
queue?
you can hear I'm pretty serious about three and in general, and I take it pretty seriously. Like I put in the prep because it allows us an opportunity to prove ourselves to ourselves. Forget about the quality of that BD that you ultimately deliver. It gives you that opportunity outside of our work life, outside of our family life, where we always so hard on ourselves to absolutely perform. But it gives you that like joy to prepare for something that you know, regardless of how well it goes, you're still going to be supported. And there will always be a cue that you want to improve on, that you want to, you know, you'll never get that perfect cue that we're all after. But at the same time, as long as for me, it's putting in the work, getting well prepped, keeping it simple. I think, you know, often when we try and complicate things a little bit much, we kind of fumble in our execution of a cue, and often the most simple cues are the most effective ones as well. So yeah, trying to keep it simple, but varied enough to be creative, to be interesting, and ultimately to leave a sweat angel on the floor at some point during that BD. It's got to be tough.
The sweat angels. We should have taken a picture of those sweat angels this morning. It was almost, there was a couple of moments, Fleet, this morning, which were kind of biblical in their signs. You know, this is the vicar talking about biblical signs, but we were going up and down in the car park, and the wind just caught the flags, and they were moseying in the breeze, and then we had this lovely meditative moment. And it's interesting, you know, you were right in what you were saying. I've spent a lot of time looking at that after I had my PTSD and anxiety some years ago. I had to, because otherwise the doctors just wanted to medicate me, and I wasn't up for piles of pills. So I'm now in a place where, partly with yoga and partly with that, I would like to lie there sometimes for an hour. I'm just like, you know, I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. And there's a thought, go away. Yes. So it was a blessing. And when we stood up and there was all those, it was, you know, with the police squad type airplane film, you know, you see the tape line of we had sweat people on the floor, and it was beautiful. It was really, really, yeah, it was good. I mean, we've talked about some of the other things that we were going to ask you about. What about, you wanted to ask about little ones, didn't you, Flea? Do you want to, should we
Yeah, I
ask
mean,
about that?
it's something we haven't done yet in Yorkshire. I mean, because we're not. Don't want to use the word mature, but you know, we've only been running as a region for 9 months now, so we've not fully got onto the 2.0 sessions yet. I follow a lot of F3 AOs and regions in the US on Instagram, and see a lot of their posts and sharing some great BD to what they're doing. And there's quite a few 2.0 sessions. You got that far down south
Yeah,
with bringing in the
yeah. So
shorties?
the 2.0 sessions are infrequent, but frequent enough to expose the 2.0 to what we actually do in the gloom, and I think that's an important step. My I'm not too sure that I want to be taking them as yet. I'm not too sure why I say that, but there's that feeling that I'm just not too sure. And I think timing of when you do a 2.0 session, I think is really important. Over the holiday times, I think is great. Taff from the Landing put together a brilliant Boxing Day 2.0 session. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it this past year, but I know it was really successful. So I highly recommend it, but I don't think that it should be a frequent thing. I think it's important that we, set those sessions up for the right times. I know that our region Ruckabout AOQ, encouraged the tours for this past weekend's Ruckabout, and it was super successful. So it's kind of like timing it right, but without, and why I say infrequently enough, so that men can actually express themselves the way they want to, because we don't have that space very frequently in our lives. And I think it's really important that we protect that space for men to express themselves the way in which they feel they need to for that particular day. But overall, 2.0 sessions, I'm hugely in favor of.
I mean, obviously, my boy came to the last ruckabout, and I would kind of echo that. It would have to be the right ruckabout, and it would have to fit in terms of frequency, because he was desperate to get named. He's been desperate to be Chainsaw since he's seen how much F3's done for me. So holidays on a calm relative route, and also he came weighted. He came with what was it? Only 3K, which is little weight comparatively, but he came weighted, and he did the full 9.5K and enjoyed it. And actually, there were points when I had him here, and there were points when I let him go and talk to packs and have a chance to chat to other adults about well-being that aren't his dad, who's always banging on about this, that, or the other. There's room, isn't there, in this balance? And I was desperate to go to Taft's thing too. It was well thought through, and I think you could mine something like that easily, Flea. And there is very little that's new under the sun. It's all been spun around. Yeah, it's good.
Like a follow-up thought on that is promoting fitness and well-being from a physical aspect for our 2.0s. So the younger you get exposed to not sitting on the couch and staring at a phone or staring at a tablet, and actually being outdoors and experiencing the outdoors and doing something good for your own well-being, the better. I spend a lot of time doing that with my but I'm not too sure that traveling them to something outside of us, 2.0 specific BD is what I promote. Yeah.
And they can learn. I mean, this week was it Wednesday, I was out finishing off a workout, and my two were outside, and they were excited I borrowed the Brooks speaker, because we bought my boy tickets for a concert for his birthday. So we were playing an extreme song, and we started doing squats and curtsy lunges to the song. And I was leading them in the counting. And then I said to them both, I said, come on then. I said, it's going to be on your down. When it's time to go down, you say down. And we all go down together, and we come up and we'll do this in cadence together. And they both did it, and Chainsaw enjoyed that. I want to say my 5-year-old unicorn, which is apparently what she wants to be called, her in cadence skills need a little bit more work, but she's 5,
learning.
so
She's
it's good.
All
It's good. She's learning. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to segue this. Where are we, Flea?
Do you know what? I'm that engrossed in the conversation here. I've completely lost track of all the agenda and what we want to get through. But one thing I do want to just ask, and Shredder asked this last time to Sage, so I'm going to ask it this time. If you could, anyone, and whether that could be one of your friends, family, or even someone famous, celebrity, politician, sports person, who would it be? And once you've got them in to join us at a BD, any naming for them?
Naming as well.
Well, it's a treat, isn't it?
I'm not too sure that I can go the naming direction on all of this, but actually, I've got 4. So I've been thinking about this one. So firstly, it's the most simple for me, is both of my brothers, just from a very personal aspect, and I know how much F3 has done for me, and I'm prepared to EH my own brothers, into the joy of F3. Whether that will happen or not, or how I get to that point, I don't know. maybe them listening to this podcast will be the next little EH technique. Yeah, and then on the celebrity side of things, Roy Keane is definitely a gent that I feel could benefit massively from F3 just because of his character. We all love his character for his character. Instantly thought of a nickname for him, and that would be Fly Kick. So that's good. And then Peter Steptoe. Peter Steptoe of this, the best rugby player in the world. Just to be able to BD with someone of that physical ability, and for him to still be able to benefit from the togetherness of being with a bunch of men outside of a rugby team, I think would be great. Yeah, but definitely my brothers are way up there on that list of four first.
And for any non-British people listening, Roy Keane is a famous Irish soccer player who used to play for Manchester United in the 90s.
Yeah. So football in the UK, but football in the US is a slightly different thing. So I see what you did there, Flea. Very smart.
Straight through the translation. I've had my crash course, American English, British English course. Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
It's slightly harder with rugby, isn't it? Because obviously Americans. One of my good friends in America that he's a Kansas guy, and he drives massive lorries. I'm going to say this in a good way. He has been known when he's been driving one of his 1,000-mile daily trip things to stop and send me a picture of a tornado. He's like, dude, look at this. And I was like, yeah, you guys are off the chain. That's not normal. It wasn't a big one. I'm like, I can see a tornado from your truck.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to him about kind of F3, but his daughter plays rugby. And again, the difference between that and American football is obviously stark. One, you have a lot of pads, and one, you don't have a lot of pads. And either way, there's a lot of physical contact and power. And one of your, say, rugby players just won the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I think he was a rugby player. I don't know the backstory, but yeah, South Africa's got some grit,
Some beef and some grit. I mean, a lot of the beef is on the braai, isn't it? Braai's a barbecue for the Americans again, but yes, some powerful men. It's good. That is good. Well, I'm glad you asked that question about EHing because that was really nice, and also there's some heart in it too. I guess we kind of know about why you're still getting up and why you're doing this.
Can I put that in a nutshell of why?
Yeah, do you dig in? Dig in.
The benefit that I've been able to feel in my own life is indescribable, actually. I'm actually lost for words of how powerfully positive this has been in my life. And I want every possible man to be able to experience what I've had the joy of experiencing. And that is my why. So, I think when we are in doubt, when we hit the HC and then we wake up at stupid o'clock in the morning and you've got that feeling of, just not today, that HC's too powerful for all the right reasons, not only because it's two letters on a pre-blast, but because you actually have the ability to change another man's life by showing up. And I think that's my why. I choose to show up for the benefit that it's given me, but it's also the privilege to be able to benefit another man's life by just showing up. And that's what I want to share with as many men as possible.
That's that special sauce, isn't it?
Yeah, that's powerful.
It's that special sauce that we've got it bottled, but it's until you taste it, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
Wrapping all that up in terms of how you perfectly put that and summarize that, and I completely relate to it. If you have to make a 10-second elevator pitch for F3 to a guy you meet in a bar, in an elevator, or what would it be?
Yeah. So I mentioned that I'm part of a men's leadership group is often the direction that I start with. And I say it starts in the morning with an exercise session. The exercise session isn't always easy, but it allows us to feel what being alive feels like. And then we enjoy a coffee and a chat to end with. So I like to say that I'm actually part of a men's leadership group that involves exercise that is the magnet, which then allows the fellowship to be the glue. and the faith to be the service.
Nice. It's just amazing, isn't it? Because we won't get to necessarily interview 1,000 packs, but everybody has their different way of expressing that, and it's just joy in that diversity
That's
in
going to be
itself.
my question. I'm going to ask every PAX that comes on this show, Shredder. I'm going to ask that one. What's your elevator pitch for F3? Because I want to get that view, that global view on it, because mine's different to Crackett's, and yours would
Yeah.
be different
Okay.
to his as well. So it'd be
Okay.
interesting to scope it out and see
Yeah,
how it
I
goes.
mean, I had the joy of
Yes.
EHing with Rabbit the other day, and we went directly to exercise first, and we just said we're part of an exercise group. We didn't even know we were dads at the same school, and all of a sudden, only a couple of months later, did we realize that our children actually go to the same school, even though we had been developing a brotherhood in the gloom for months before that. So in that moment, it felt right with exercise as the front runner, but exercise is the reason we get down there, but it's not by all means the only reason we stay there.
Absolutely. I heard somebody say recently about this power of posting for the other. You're doing it for them. Actually, I'll push back a bit on that concept of stupid o'clock, because I used to say stupid o'clock a lot. And I think it's faded out of my brain now in terms of F3. So Thursday, obviously queuing at the Brook. Friday, I thought I'd managed to get a guy from the other side of Heathrow to come to the Weir, and his car broke down. But we'll get him there, because that'll hopefully be a good step towards them going north as well in the long run. And I set my alarm. Set my alarm for the Brook is set my alarm for 4:50, and it is no longer early. It's just, and I set it for 4:20 for the Weir, and I'll kind of go, wake up. A few days I've started waking up 15 minutes early. I sleep, to not in a mean way, but just I would say this to any packs. I've chosen on an F3 night to sleep downstairs, because I love being married too much to wake my wife up every time. Every packs is different, but we're blessed with a bed down in our playroom, so I keep down there, and sometimes I wake up early and read a book, and I'm like, who even am I?
So
It's just
I think when you speak to fellow F3 packs, like stupid o'clock is no longer stupid, because there's so much
yeah.
there's so much value in waking up when the animal wakes. And Shredder, I'm often way earlier than you, and it kind of enriches me in many ways, because I know that I'm starting off the opening of my eyes in a certain way with the intention of getting to a BD. So you kind of prepare your mind, prepare your soul. If I can get more spiritual into it, and like it's a way of life for me now. It's not just I'm gonna go through these couple of stages and it's a habit, and whatever. It just is. It's what I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah,
We're connecting primarily, aren't
exactly.
we? I think in that early time. I mean, saying, because you talked about embracing the cold and embracing that discomfort, and there's been times when in our lives, as I've worked out my journey of exercising out there, where my said to me, it's freezing cold, and you're going out at 8:15 tonight, and I've gone, yeah, and I get out there, and it's -2, it's -3, which for London is basically apocalyptic. And I look up and I can see Orion the Hunter, and I might see a meteor, and I know that I'm connected at a level beyond which I can describe to the world that I'm in. I feel it, and I think that's one of the things that we kind of get our fingertips on as packs in the gloom. Get out of these little boxes, and not cages, but these constructed buildings that we live in, and we're made for that as all people, not just men, all people. We need that to be out. Yeah, yeah. Good. What do we think then? We should be probably looking at our final questions at this point, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a fantastic discussion so far, Cracker. Thank you.
Absolutely.
What's your last message then for any guys who are listening, who haven't been to an F3 workout, who are thinking of joining? They've had the elevator pitch. You've sold a great idea of this leadership group with some workouts at the start of it, and they're going, shall I go? What's that final message now, if you get to have a second chat with them, to get them over the line, to turn up?
Yeah. it's in my character to be pretty direct. My next conversation or next sentence will pretty much be like, "Cool, will I see you tomorrow? You know, are you committed enough to join us tomorrow morning?" And then you start to really understand where gents are and how committed they are. And that next step might take a little while, but I am more than happy to just keep supporting them even through their decision-making process to finally get to a point where it's actually comfortable enough to take that next step. Because once you've got that next step, you know, men are going to feel the warmth. Doesn't matter how cold, wet it is, they're going to feel the warmth, and that's what men are searching for. The final message on that is get yourself down to a BD. Simple as that.
Yeah, thank you, Kake, for all your sharing, honesty, passion. It's been fantastic for your overview and your reflection on what F3's done for you, but also what it can do for guys who aren't with us yet in the gloom. And that's what we want to do. We want to plant, grow, serve. We want to be available to every guy on the planet. And it's our job to roll that out.
And I just want to say a massive, you know, I'm just so grateful to Safari and Walter and Homer and Sticks and my main man, Mr. Freeze, and, you know, just so many men that you want to just spend so much time with and just are so grateful to, you know. So that's just the tip of the iceberg of the men that have influenced my life. And I hope that can continue for many years to come, you know, because it's just such a fulfilling thing to be a part of. And you give so much, but you receive so much more. It's just beautiful. So, gentlemen, to yourselves, thank you so much for having me on. It's been great to be able to express myself, and I hope that my pure love of my fellow man and my F3 journey comes through the way it should. Super grateful. Thank you.
Look, honestly, at this point, I'm already excited for this episode to come out, and I'm going to say this, definitely at least me and my mum are going to watch this. You've been a treasure, and just as last time with Sage, when Flea said we've got to get Sage on, I'm so glad that we've done this. I'm so glad that you've come into this episode with us and shared your heart, and yeah, I'm bowled over. This is like a wonderful virtual circle of trust, isn't it? And we want everybody to join in.
No, it's been great to hear from you. And again, the invitation's out there for any UK packs and further beyond. You know, if you're based in the US, if you're based in Africa, Asia, Australasia, South America, where else have I missed? Antarctica? Any guys down there? We could do a pop-up BD in Antarctica, maybe. We want to hear from you. And we want to get in contact with us, please. I'll put the email address on the show at the bottom. How fancy is that? Now we can do that.
That's so fancy.
Please email us f3podcastuk@gmail.com. Pop it back up again. Or you can WhatsApp us on 0044 7968 173 160. Yeah, fantastic. We really want to hear from you. We've got a busy agenda over the next months, haven't we, Shredder, in terms of invitees? Can we tease who the next guest is? I think that's probably fair, isn't it? We can do that. Let's do that. Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's get a HC from him.
Yes, we've got our wonderful coordinator from the Northeast coming, haven't we? I want to make sure I've got the right guy now.
Westy.
We've got Westy.
Yeah, Westy's joined us, yeah.
That's right. Westy. Yeah, so we've got Westy booked in a couple of weeks. In fact, his name was dropped yesterday in the Circle of Trust at the Weir. Somebody said, I met this guy. He was such a nice man. So kindly spoken, and they said, and I told them Westy, and they said yes. And I was like, tune in to episode 3 of In Cadence when we will have Westy telling us all about Newcastle, the Northeast, and going back hopefully soon over Hadrian's Wall, maybe.
Yeah, and we didn't even ask Crackett about the convergence this year. How bad was that? We did, No,
I know.
Both him and I were the Q slots there. It was a great experience, but we'll deep dive into that with Westy. For those eagle-eyed amongst you, those who rewind back to the beginning of the episode, Westy is in the middle of the circle with me as I'm leading the groiners. I'm in the green t-shirt. Westy's in the other one. So if you look in the beginning of the circle as we're doing the cadence exercises, he's in there in the middle with me.
2 of you. That's when Lagertop's abs was still working.
That was before he did an hour's worth of abs. Yeah.
Before he'd done 4 sessions of abs. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Thank you, Crackett, endlessly. And thank you, Flea, for making this hit work, we will always endeavour to do it well. And we want to hear from you wherever you are in the world. We'd love to be able to chat. And honestly, AOs in the UK, we'd love your news. We'd love to know what's going on, and just get in touch. Just get conversations going. It will enrich us all.
And we want some global news as well. We want
Good.
global news. I want to know more about this beatdown that happened in the US with the wedding between the F3 and the Fear couple, the one with the goats. I want to know more about this. We need to get those guys on for a chat, because I think a BD should have goats.
I wasn't sure if the goats were just for catering purposes.
No, they were running.
I saw there was goats. I'd be running if I saw a load of F3 and FIA people come and get married and I was a goat. I'd be like, I'm out of here. I won't do a dad joke at this point. 2 Wednesdays time on In Cadence. All right.